What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mark B, and you are listening to another episode of the Man Listen Show. Before we get started, let's go ahead and hear a few words from our sponsors.
Title Boxing Club of Rock Hill is proud to be a sponsor of the Man Listen Show. Title Boxing Club Rock Hill offers dynamic boxing and kickboxing classes for all. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TBC Rock Hill.
The Man Listen Show is also brought to you by Conversate With Us Radio. Conversate With Us Radio, your urban radio show podcast. A fun place to look for advice and a different perspective on life, love, relationships, sports, and politics. One conversation at a time. You can find us on Facebook at Conversate With Us Radio and on Instagram at Conversate With Us. Don't forget to capitalize the V in Conversate. All right, we're back. We're back. Let me go ahead and introduce everybody. Let's start off with the ladies. C, how are you doing?
Hey, what's good?
Everything's good. Everything's wonderful. Arika, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, everybody.
All right. And my brother, B Lab, what's up, man?
What's going on? What's going on?
Not much, brother. Not much. So today we'll be talking about Daniel Caesar and the controversy that he just got himself embroiled in. So, for those of you who don't know, Daniel Caesar is an immensely talented singer. I'm a big fan of his music, and he got in a bit of a controversy because he became mad that the internet was dragging his friend. Yes, Jules is a young lady, young Caucasian lady that is, I guess, big in the hip hop scene. And she made some controversial statements, took some controversial stances, and he decided that he was going to go on his Instagram live and reprimand black people because of their stance against Yes Jules. So he went on this drunken tirade where he said that, black people are basically too sensitive, how we were wrong, and if we disagree with him, then to go ahead and make him broke, put him out of business. That was his thoughts on the whole situation because he did not agree how black people basically checked Yes Jules, his white female friend. He later, after talking to DeRay McKesson, came back and gave what was labeled an apology, but it was one of those things where it really wasn't an apology. He just said, I was, my approach to it was wrong, but I still think what I think. So, I want to talk about it with the crew. We really want to talk about basically, do celebrities owe us anything other than just to entertain us? And should we pull back our support from that celebrity if they say something that we don't really care for or we think is contradictory to our opinion? So, go ahead and start with my brother Lab. Lab, what did you think about it when you saw Daniel Caesar going on his Instagram live tirade, coming at black people?
Man, honestly, when I first looked at it, I thought it was kind of funny just because the way, I don't know, when I look at him and I hear his music, that's not necessarily the voice I picture, so that was number one, or the voice I would think someone that looks like him would have. But secondly, I thought he was kind of off base.
Wait a minute. So, what kind of voice did you think he would have? You thought he would sound like Tyrone or somebody on the street?
I don't know because you know what? I honestly I've heard his songs. I didn't know a lot about him. I didn't know he was Canadian. Honestly, I had no clue.
Yeah.
So I really didn't know a lot about. I just heard a couple songs he had on the radio, like you, pretty cool songs. So and really, I don't know that I had actually seen him before. I don't know. I think that might have been the first time I actually saw what he actually looked like. So I guess maybe because all of that hit me at once, I heard his voice in the songs, and I see a picture of him, or I see this rant that he has, and then I see his hair, and I see him, and then I hear his voice, and I was just like, this is comical. This is pretty funny to me. And then beyond that, the crazy thing is I had just watched. It had absolutely nothing to do with him, but I had just watched this thing on that girl, Yes Jules, probably a month ago. I had no clue who she was either, and so when he comes to her defense, I just thought he was almost like he was trying to keep his money alive, because she's apparently very influential and can get people on the certain venues and parties and things like that. And she's a social media influencer, so she says this bump song in the country or something like that. So that's what I thought. He was just trying to protect his bread.
Okay. Like I said in the intro, I've been a pretty big fan of his. When his I first got exposed to his music almost a year and a half ago, I was rocking it tough, and I had seen him on some award shows and his Tiny Desk appearance with NPR on YouTube. Watched that several times, so I was familiar with him. Like you, I didn't know his regular voice. I think that he's somewhat uptight because he had a little bit of a run in with Dave Chappelle on something that John Mayer was putting out or whatever, and I think that had him feeling some type of way, and I guess he wanted to talk tough. But how do you talk tough towards the people that made you? I mean, Erika, I don't get it. I mean, you would think that reprimanding your supporters and challenging them to have put me out of business, make me go broke. I just don't understand the rationale and the logic behind all
I think he was. It's gonna sound crazy to say, but I think he was kind of emboldened by how long it took y'all to quit listening to R. Kelly.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Taking shot.
That's a good point. But Rico, I mean, what you think?
I mean, I was taken aback because, like you guys, like Lav, I had not seen him prior to this rant. And so I was just a fan of the music without knowing anything about the artist personally. And I kind of took it as I was embarrassed for him. He looks like not only was he making absolutely no sense, but he looked like the people that he had around him were not the type of people you need to have around you in life. Like, I like to have people who disagree with me. I like to have people who challenge me to do better. And I also like to have people who take my phone when I get drunk. So I think he needed a little bit of all of that.
That part, for real,
Yeah.
for real.
But I think this is kind of like a teachable moment, though, because it's kind of scary when you break down what he was talking about. So, a few things that stuck out to me was when he said that black people needed to accept white people's winning strategy. And to me, I took such offense to that because that's pretending that the winning strategy hasn't been oppressing any and every other race that is coming to contact with them, as if stealing and raping and pillaging hasn't been the primary components of that strategy. And then he's like, victims don't make you pay. Well, all of us aren't out here looking for money. Some of us want to actually be happy. Some of us want to be good people. Some of us want to actually learn and experience life. And he just seemed entirely indoctrinated with the message that consumerism and the oppressor has been shoving down people's throats so much that it just made me feel like he has absolutely no mentors. He has no people in his life with any sense, and that he is an example of why we go so hard in our personal lives is so that we don't have those people in our circle, near our circle, in our friends' circle. So if we see one, we got to grab them and teach them something. And the fact that you have to listen to D Ray about systemic racism as if that's not a hot topic that you could just kind of pick up on in any conversation, it's ridiculous. I think that was definitely a teachable moment, and he just exposed himself as being very ignorant, unfortunately.
The fact that DeRay McKesson was the one that reached out to him, I better leave that alone. But I mean, people can read between the
Yeah.
lines. But there's a question, and I get this from Yvette Carnell when people are making statements and saying what black people should do and making comments about black people. The question is this: who you? And it's about digging into that person's background and where they came from, so that you understand why they are taking the approach that they are taking. So Daniel Caesar is from Canada, right? He's from Canada. He was born to his father was a Jamaican gospel singer, and his mother is, I believe, from Barbados. And he grew up in religious schools. I can't remember if it was Catholic. I don't think it was Catholic. Maybe Lutheran schools, something to that effect. But to your point, Erika, when you talked about this straight consumerism and everything that he was talking about, to me, I thought it was highly offensive for someone to come from Canada who has parents who came from different countries and wants to speak about what black people, American DOS, should be doing in our country. Like, what gives you that right to do that? Especially since you came here and we made you what you are. Because we were pumping your music, we were listening to your music, and then for you to take that stance to defend somebody who is basically a culture vulture, right? Who's appropriating our culture, our music, our style, which I hate. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm just gonna keep it real. I hate it when people from the dominant society. I hate when white folks try to talk black and talk hip and act all gangster and all that type of crap. I hate that. I want you just to be
What
you.
if she was raised in that environment though? I don't know her background, but what if she was raised in that
My answer to that would be this: is that I know plenty of people who are raised in, I guess we'll say, lower economic environments, and they don't speak in that fashion. That's a
environment? Right.
that's
That's what I'm
that
saying.
that's
So you
that's a caricature of black society. And if we look in, if we apply the rule that I just said, who you, I bet you if we looked into it, I don't think that girl probably came up in a way that is the way
no.
that she talks. So that's my
I'm
stance on
I'm
that.
pretty sure that yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that too. I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah.
I hate when people say talk black. I really do. I hate
Well,
that
that's
because
Yeah, I do too.
well.
I do too.
See, I'm gonna bring you in, but that's why I said it in the way that I said it. It's not talking black because that's how when you talk about when you see movies and they mention slaves and how they talked and they kind of, oh, yes, a
mm-hmm.
massa and all this.
Yeah,
No, that's not
mm-hmm.
that's not us. And then when you see,
Right.
white people when they mimic black people, it's always like, yo, 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 what's up? You know, if you have somebody come at you and talk like that, be like,
Like
hey man,
she's going over the top. She's
right,
trying too hard.
right, right,
Yeah,
right, right,
yeah.
right. So see, I mean, let me see. I'm gonna bring you in, but to me, it was highly offensive the stance that he took, and the fact that he didn't have the self awareness to realize, oh, you know what? I just burned a bridge with my main supporters. I don't get that dude. But see, what were your thoughts?
So basically, I didn't even know who he was until that whole incident with Dave Chappelle. Once Dave Chappelle's little video or whatever started going around.
So for those who don't know, Dave Chappelle was on some sort of show with John Mayer, and they were going to intro Daniel Caesar so that he could come in and perform. And Dave Chappelle, his initial thought was he called Daniel Caesar. He basically said he's very gay. And then he went to talk about his talent, and it was clear that Daniel Caesar was somewhat offended by being called very gay. Now, we don't know what the dude's sexuality is. I mean, people make their assumptions. I don't know, and it really doesn't matter because, like I said, I was a big fan of his music. It didn't matter which way he, went sexually. But for some people, they think that kind of triggered Daniel Caesar. And I think he even talked about it in his rant. He talked about I was being emotional with the Dave Chappelle thing, and black people were being emotional themselves. So go ahead, see. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. So that was like my first kind of run in with him. Now looking back, I do think I've heard a few songs on the radio, but I never knew who he was. And so for him to be so highly offended for a comedian making a joke, I wasn't really sure why he said the whole black community should give this, white rapper a pass. And then his apology. So he apologized, but he really didn't. He said he apologized for the way he said it, but not for what he said. So he really still doesn't understand what he did wrong in that. And so that probably, I don't know if so much worries me, but I think you're right. I don't know if it's so much him growing up in Canada. I think the fact that he had two parents that weren't in America played a bigger part than him growing up in Canada. I just think that they look at things different than we do. And and I don't want to keep like trying to separate ourselves from other, Africans in the diaspora that went to other different countries, but there is a difference when it comes down to like things like this. They don't view them the same way we do.
I think that you're right. I don't think there's an intentional like plan to, separate ourselves from other people of African descent. Like some people feel like this ADOS movement is just a divisive strategy that people are coming up with. And I don't think it's that. I think it's that it's an acknowledgement of the fact that our experiences and our upbringing and our mentality is completely different than people who are raised in other countries because of the conditions and the circumstances of how we are raised in this country, of the things that we are forced to confront every single day, of the issues that we are forced to push off on our children at a young age and force them to deal with in order to try to ensure that they make it home at the end of the day. And so, if we don't acknowledge that, and if we don't point out to other people that our experiences and our understanding and basically how we have been brought up in this country influence how we think about things and how we speak about things and what we need and what we view as what we need to resolve the issues in this country, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. And I don't think that we owe it to anybody to fight for inclusiveness until we get ourselves 100% together.
Yeah, it's definitely not about separation. The ADOS movement is about us and our claim here in the United States, coming from ancestors who suffered through chattel slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, and all of that, how that affects our experience here in the United States. So that's why you bring it on back to for him to take that stance to basically say, hey man, black people were being too sensitive in our approach to this passive aggressive microaggression that this white woman was making towards not just the black community but black women as well is out of touch. It's insensitive and it's dangerous. I mean, I wouldn't dare go to Jamaica or go to Barbados or go to anywhere else and try to tell like that's like going to South Africa and telling people in South Africa, hey, listen, that apartheid stuff, yeah, it was horrible, but I mean, y'all got to stop being so sensitive. Let's get past that. Now, what fool would go ahead and do that? Especially a fool that's making their money, making their revenue off of the people from that country. So that's why the problem I have with it. And what I don't understand is why you would take this stance and put your career in jeopardy over this woman. I mean, a woman who has proven to have contempt for your culture and is just basically trying to capitalize on black culture, hip hop culture. I mean, what is it about some of our brothers? Because he isn't the only person that was riding for her, and he isn't the only brother who has basically what was the chick that Ti put out? What was her name? Um, the girl
Iggy Azalea.
Oh, yeah.
Iggy Azalea. She was from Australia, and what was that black scent that she took on? Remember, lad, when you talked about and because I remember hearing Iggy Azalea, and I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this sister go kind of hard, and my daughters was looking at me
Uh,
and was like, sister, what you talking about? And I was like, well, she not black, and it was like, no, and I looked it up, and I said, wait, she ain't even black, she ain't even from the U.S. So you can't even say like maybe she grew up in the hood or she grew up in the South. No, you
the slums of Sydney.
yeah, the slums of Sydney. You know what I'm saying?
I want to know what song she had that you thought went kind of hard though.
Right.
I don't remember any of her songs going kind of hard.
She had some song that she had like a cameo on. It was a cameo on, and she was flowing. And I said, okay, she got a little flow. You know what I mean? And they was like, nah, that ain't no sister, man. But
T.I.
that
wrote
ain't
all
what
her
you want.
rhymes.
Yeah, that ain't what
T.I.
Yeah.
wrote every last one of those rhymes.
Hey, Marv was eating pumpkin pie when he was listening to backpack.
I knew somebody was gonna say it.
yeah,
Put
yeah.
extra mayonnaise on this sandwich.
Yeah.
Right.
Extra mayo. Listen, listening to that track. She did never go hard.
Well, okay. All right. Y'all got me on that one. Y'all got me on that one. But let's talk about it though. So, what do you think it is about our people that wants to give folks like Yes Jules a pass? It's clear that there's too many of us who are so much in love with white folks that we will sacrifice whatever dignity and whatever self respect we have. But I don't really understand why it continues to happen and why some people want to give folks like Daniel Caesar and other people a pass. What do you think?
They're not necessarily supporting her. They're supporting this idea of consumerism. They just want to be capitalists. They want to make money. They want to have the cars, the watches, the outfits nobody else can afford. And they want to be a part of that world so badly that they're willing to sell their souls for. And they can't even understand how people like us who don't care about Louis, Gucci, Fendi, Prada, whatever, they're like, what do you mean you don't care? What do you mean you get your belts from Target? I mean, and I'd be mad at that sometimes. I'd be like, man, I know it's a black retailer out here somewhere with belts. Where how can I find them? I'm like, I've already found my laundry detergent. I have to find me another black staple because I love me some true detergent. So it's just, I think that they're so busy buying into the culture of consumerism and trying so hard to buy their self esteem. If I look this way, then people will think I'm attractive, and then I'll feel good about myself for that 5 minutes that everybody's looking at me. And it goes back to us not addressing our mental health issues or the problems that we have growing up. He talked a lot about sleeping on a park bench and how he worked his way up to here. Well, you didn't do it by yourself. You did it on the backs of all of these people who supported you because of your talent. So then to say, I don't care, I'll go back to that, that shows a lack of respect, not only just for his fans, but for himself. But he obviously has never been taught that or how to respect himself or even carry himself in a manner that commands respect. So, he's a part of that generation that they think they can buy attention, buy affection, buy love, and you can't. And they don't understand when it ends, and that's why they all on drugs.
I think it's bigger than that though. I agree that that's a portion of it, but I guess the point that I was trying to get to was that if you look at Jewish people, they had the phrase "never again," right? They were persecuted, the Holocaust and everything that they went through, and they said "never again," and they are dogged in their pursuit of reparations and restitution for what happened to their ancestors and what happened to them and what happened to them as descendants of people who suffered through the Holocaust. Michael Jackson made a song and he used the K word one time, right? One time, and he wasn't even saying it in a disparaging way. And they made him take it out of the song. They made him apologize, and they really put Michael Jackson through the ringer. This girl wore a shirt that said "N words be lying,"
She
and
didn't wear it.
well, she okay. Thanks for the clarification. She put it on her Instagram, and she said, "Should I wear it?" Right? Should I wear it? I appreciate it. We want to be accurate. And do you know there was black people that was caping for her? What does that say about us?
I think a lot of it's just ignorance and acceptance. Like this Daniel guy, I think he was just looking to be accepted by people. Like Erika said, he thought that was going to stop his money or help his money flow if he like joined, I guess, her bandwagon, and she was getting attention at the time. So I almost feel like he just really wanted to be trending. He probably really doesn't have an opinion on the subject, and now he just can't go back on it. It was just a way for him to get attention. And I think with a lot of black people, it is too. Like I see some people on social media that kind of put out their opinions that I really, that I grew up with, that I know personally. So I know it's not really theirs. It's almost like they just want to go against the grain and just have something to say. So just there's a debate out there to talk about. So I don't really know if a lot of people are accepting. So that's another thing about her. I never even knew who she was until this whole incident with him or with her making the shirt.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think any of us knew who she was before the whole situation when Daniel Caesar came out. I mean, I knew him because of the music that he put out, and because I
Mm-hmm.
was researching the topic, and I looked at the article when it said Daniel Caesar, offended fans, and then you drill down and you say, okay, what was this all about? And then that's when you find out about her and why he was taking this
Mm-hmm.
stance. I mean, Lab, I mean, do you think it's like an attention seeking thing, or why do you think this brother put himself out like that?
Nah, I think kind of like I said before. I think for real, it is about the money. We're in an era right now where likes and clicks and heart emojis is synonymous with success to a lot of people, right? So her being a huge, like I said, social media influencer that companies pay hundreds of thousands of dollars literally each year to promote their product, whether it's a song, whether it's a shoe, whether it's a club, whether it's whatever. He's trying to he hasn't made it yet. He had one album, so he hasn't secured long term financial security for himself. So I think he's still trying to reach that. And so he is going to say, you know what, I'm going to not worry about these people who are consuming my music, because as long as she's still pushing my music, somebody's still going to buy it. Somebody's still going to listen to it. I'm still going to get booked at these hottest conventions or these festivals or whatever, because she's going to put me out there. And so I think for him, he probably wasn't thinking that at the time, but it's a calculated decision by a lot of people to align yourself with someone who can be beneficial for you personally. It's I can't imagine being a celebrity or being someone who's in the spotlight and just saying forget everybody else. I'm doing me. You know, you have to have some kind of responsibility or something. You have to, I don't know, give something back to the culture. That's just my philosophy. I don't know.
Well, speaking of giving back to the culture, perfect segue. Um, and speaking of likes and heart emojis and reclicks and all that, make sure you go to the Man Listen Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you share with everybody. But speaking of giving back to the culture, Dr. Dre, did y'all see Dr. Dre in the news when he was trying to talk slick about his daughter getting into USC?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so Dr.
It is.
Dre posted on his Instagram where he showed where one of his daughters, was admitted to USC, and he made a slick comment about not having to go to jail in order for her to get in, and that was in reference to what we talked about in our last show with the college admission scandal, and he was basically trying to make a joke about that. He didn't know that social media keeps receipts, and people were very aware that back in, I think, 2013, he had donated like 70 mil to the school that his daughter just got admitted to, USC, right? So people called him out on
Yep.
that, and they were like, "Listen, the other people may have, did it the wrong way. You did it the legal way. You may try to get a building named after you, but let's not front and not say that your resources or your wealth wasn't the reason why your daughter was admitted into the school. Now, she may have had all the qualifications, she may have had the test scores, she may have had the grades, but let's be serious. Even if she didn't, she probably still would have been admitted to USC. So is it really something to brag about when you gave this institution $70 million?
Not at all. Not at all. I used to hear people say USC stand for the University of Spoiled Children. I never understood what that meant. But after this scandal, it makes sense to me. It is a private university, so the private universities they don't necessarily have to abide by the standards as a state run university, with taxpayer dollars. They say, hey, we're private. We need to make as much money as we can. So yeah, if it costs you 70 grand to get your kid in here, then there's plenty of people that'll do it. I tell you.
But I think, and the reason why I brought that up, because you had made the point about having given back to the community that supported you in some way, shape, or fashion. Dre gave $70 million to USC when
Right.
we when
And
we
people
had
were talking about it when he
yeah
did it. Why did you give it to Howard, or why did you give it to Morehouse, or why did you give it to Jackson State or whatever? Yeah, I remember people talking about that.
Yeah, there's so many HBCUs who their endowment money look, like we said, they're talking about the AUC, Morehouse, Spelman, and Clark. People are making suggestions that they need to combine so that they can survive. A lot of people are talking about a lot of HBCUs probably need to do the same thing, combine so they can survive because you need endowment money to keep the university going. So to donate $70 million to USC, somebody, a university that's already set, they don't need your resources, and basically you're giving that away to another community. That money could have went so far towards the black community, and think about the influence and the power he could have had, because we talked about how all the number of black professionals who created at HBCUs, doctors, lawyers, engineers, etc. Why would you give those resources to them? And then you come back and try to brag that you got your little daughter into this school just so people can remember how foolish and simple you were with the donation that you made the first time.
So I was okay with him throwing shade at the two ladies that are, plus that, paid. Because the one thing different about Dre's daughter is, from where I understand, is she has a GPA and a test score to get in there. Granted, she was going to get in there no matter what. Like you said, if you have a parent that donates 70 million, you're guaranteed to get in. I mean, grandchildren are guaranteed to get in. But however, she actually put in the work to actually get there, and to where, from what I read, like, what's her name, Felicity Huffman's daughter, like, didn't even go to school for almost a year in high school. And then the same thing, I don't know Aunt Becky's uh real name, I can't even think of it, but her daughter actually
Lori
made a
Laughlin.
post after that talking about she didn't like, yeah, she don't like school anyway. And so I mean, so at least with Dre's daughter, she actually did do something to go to school.
All
But
right.
his 70 million was wasted with USC. But Dre does do a lot for, all the comps in that LA area. I know, like, he built a whole new high school from, ground up, and invested in the performing arts program. Granted, that was only 10 million, and he gave USC 70, but I think he does do stuff, year after year. Still didn't give him a pass, but
So I
better
give
than
I
nothing.
I give him a pass on that because, like you said, there was one of me and last frat brothers, Dr. Walter Kimbrough. He called Dre out. He was one of the first ones. He's the president of Dillard University in New Orleans, HBCU, and he called Dre out on the donation that he made to USC. And then Dre donated 10 million to Compton High. Now, of course, I think Dre is from Compton. Of course, NWA straight out of Compton. So he donated to the high school. That high school, I believe, is 81% Hispanic. And I think
Oh,
81% Hispanic, and the remainder is African American, ADOS. I think like maybe like 1 or 2% something else.
oh,
So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I didn't,
so
huh.
again,
I wonder if that whole area has changed. Is that the high school that he attended?
it probably is. I mean, but it's just like any.
Yeah.
It's probably just
It's
like
just like everywhere.
just
Yeah.
like everywhere else. I mean, if you look at East
Yeah.
Oakland, heck, look where we're from. See, you look at the East Side of
Yeah,
Topeka.
that's
The
true.
East Side of Topeka used to be all black, and what happened? The immigrants moved in, and then next thing you know, it's all Hispanic. So
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
so. I mean, but the point I'm trying to make with that is, you know, Dre received fame and notoriety through NWA and through gangster rap and his music, and that came from black people. Now I know that there's a lot of white people that listen to gangster rap, but there's black people who supported Dre, and we got to get our celebrities to be, and I don't know how we do this, to be a little bit more savvy with how they use their resources and how we can advance the community with the wealth that we do have. I mean, we already know that the black community doesn't have that much wealth at all, right? That the racial wealth gap is drastic, and that's with the celebrities, that's with the LeBron James, that's with the Oprah Winfrey's. But how's that helping us when Dre is giving 70 million to USC and Oprah is starting schools in Africa? Go ahead, Rika.
So I had no idea that Trey had donated 70 million to USC, and I was offended. Like, I was strongly offended. Why do they need $70 million? You could have just started a scholarship fund for 70 million to go anywhere you wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
and they could have met certain criteria that you felt some type of way about. Like, so let's say, I want people that comes from where I come from, or they come from Compton or the streets, or have experienced similar things to what I've experienced. And then they say I can, distinguish them from other people and give them a scholarship. How many full rides could you have given out at 70 million? And that could have impacted numerous schools, but you
Mm-hmm.
didn't. It's kind of lazy. It's lazy. It's like, okay, I want my kid to go to USC because that's where all my goes back to what I said about Daniel Caesar. Like, they're buying into the capitalistic structure. Well, white people have this winning strategy. I want to be a part of the winning strategy. I want to buy my kid's way into a winning college because it's all about reputation, like we said last time. It's not about the kid actually wanting to go to college or learning anything. They're doing the same thing they do in elementary school, repetition. I'm going to say something to you, and can you repeat it back to me? I don't care if you actually learned anything or if you know anything, if you're intelligent or not. I just want to know if you're a good parent. And when we buy into that structure and we have people that don't have college educations and who can't think for themselves out here with this large sum of money that they can just dump anywhere in the world, they make terrible decisions. It's like we need Black Twitter to advise everyone before they spend their money. Like, listen, you will be dragged for this. Think twice. Something. I don't know.
There was an excellent documentary on Netflix. I really suggest this. It was about Sam Cooke, right? Killing
The
the
two deaths
the
or
two
something, or
deaths of
two
Sam
killings
the
or
two
something.
killings, the two deaths of Sam Cooke, right? And part of that documentary, they talked about how Sam Cooke linked up with Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, and with Jim Brown, right? And those brothers sat down. They had like a private summit, and at the time before Jim Brown started tripping here recently with Kanye, um, they were really the people that were at the forefront of the civil rights movement outside of just, Brother Martin Luther King Jr. and everybody else, right? So these are people, Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, these are people that had the fame and the wealth, the resources that they could make a change with, but they also were smart enough and savvy enough to bring somebody else in who could say, hey, listen, man, this is what we need to do as a people. And I think our celebrities need to have that self awareness, to have somebody be that sort of counsel for them so they aren't making these mistakes. Now, Dre was a grown man, a grown A man when he made that decision. Daniel Caesar, I think, is 22. So I don't know if I'm, first of all, I like his music. So, and I gave R. Kelly 1,000 chances. So I might
A
not just can't.
million, a
Yeah, yeah,
million
yeah,
chances.
yeah. A million
He got
chances.
till 2050.
Yeah,
Daniel
yeah,
Caesar got till 2050.
yeah,
A
yeah,
million and one. This
yeah,
dude has been in the
yeah,
closet and
yeah.
everything else, and we still like, maybe this isn't about that.
Man,
Still single
the track to the
around.
closet did go hard though. But so I don't know if we're gonna cancel Daniel Caesar just yet. Um, but I think I might just bootleg it. I don't think I'll be supporting his music or anything like that. So I mean,
Right.
so so so
Wait,
Yeah.
wait.
so what do y'all say to the people that make the statement that black people are too hard on our celebrities? Like, it's their money; they can spend it how they want to spend it. If Dre wants to give it to USC, who are we to fault that man because he wants to establish his legacy and he wants his daughter to go to this school? I mean, how do you combat that way of thinking, or do you agree with it?
I think there's a balance in that. Now, granted, yeah, it is your money. It is yours to do it as you please, and you're looking out for your family as you should. I mean, we all do. We all look out for our family's best interests. But at the same token, knowing that the situation as of black people in America, uh, as we talked about earlier, versus other people in other countries, instead of going to open a school in Africa or donating your funds to third world countries, we got plenty of things here in the United States to help our people. So I think you definitely have that responsibility. It's kind of tough to say I'm not going to support someone because they don't support us. But I definitely think they need to give back to the Black community and those who have supported them from day one.
I think they need to give back. I mean, the people that helped you build your empire, you should almost feel obligated to want to help them, give back in some sort of way. I'm not saying that they need to donate to, every charity because they earn the money. They can spend it how they want to. But I think if you want to keep continuing to earn it and not offend Black Twitter, I think you got to figure out something. But I also think that the Black community is missing, like you named a lot of legends earlier, and I feel like the Black community is just missing that. We just don't have that person. Ti is doing decent right now. Jay Z's talking about a lot of good things, but we don't have a Malcolm or Ali or Jim Brown before his Trump era and stuff like that to kind of lead our people.
The government killed them all.
That's true. That's true.
Facts.
Somebody else needs to take those chances.
Yeah. I think that it's bigger than giving back for us. I think that the reason why we get so offended is because they have a platform that many of us just don't have.
How do you have somebody like Dr. Dre give away 70 million to people, and then you say, well, that's his money and we can't say anything? But yet you have LeBron James trying to do whatever he can for the community, and I see people just going at him all the time. I'm not trying to hear it. I'm not trying to hear it at all. You know what I'm saying? That's why LeBron could have never won an NBA championship, and I still would have been his biggest fan because of the position that he's taken for the Black community. And he didn't owe us anything. And for people who don't get that, yeah, it's sports, yeah, it's entertainment, but number one, I think a lot of these people don't have it like they really think they have it. They don't have the money like they say they have. And then number two, it's clear that even though they get it, they don't know how to spend it or how to use it wisely. So I mean, we gotta start putting this into perspective and educating our people to hold those folks accountable. I mean, you can say, hey, well, you never had that much money, and why? How do you get to tell them how to spend it? Well, listen, I read, and I listen to people who have sense, and I bring it up so that other folks can hold people accountable. Folks got mad at us because we said Colin Kaepernick was stupid because he didn't have any Black attorneys representing him when he settled with the NFL. So let me put this last question to the crew. Daniel Caesar, are we canceling him or not? C.
I can only think of one song. I guess I got to hear more. For right now, he's canceled. I mean, I'm kind of rolling with Black Twitter. They said he's a goner, so he's a goner. Whoever they drag, I'm dragging.
All right, all right. Laugh. Is he canceled or not?
Man, that's a tough one, man. New Jack City was one of my favorite movies, and I really want to say cancel that, but nah, man, we ain't gonna cancel the brother yet. Like you said, man, he's a young brother. He's in his early 20s. He needs to just get educated and surround himself with better people.
Erika?
Man, I think that Black Twitter has some power because I was ready to cancel him and I didn't even see everything Black Twitter had to say. I think after speaking with everyone today that maybe that's what we're doing wrong. We just canceling people instead of counseling them, instead of educating them and bringing them up and into the fold.
Preach.
So maybe instead of just writing everybody off so quick because it's easy, we take these little problematic children under our wing. Even people like Kodak is talking about Tupac. You just gotta, I don't know, maybe somebody could talk some sense into them, but somebody's got to do it. And if we don't take responsibility for doing it, then who will? And so we just canceling everybody at this stage, and we at the almost 40 mark. We talking about we don't have no foot soldiers, no real leaders. Maybe that's us. Maybe that's what we supposed to be doing right now. Maybe that's maybe it's our time to step in and grab some of these dummies and teach them something. So I'm not gonna cancel him today, but he's on the list.
I initially I said I was gonna cancel him because I was highly offended by what he said, and once I found out that he made these comments in defense of this white girl who was attacking Black women and attacking the Black community with her words and with her actions, I was done with him. you all do make a good point when you talk about maybe we are canceling people too quick. You know, we gave Kanye a couple of chances. That was one of our first shows. We said Kanye come back home, and so I guess I'm not going to cancel him just yet. Because if I be honest, I haven't stopped listening to his music because that Tiny Desk performance he had on NPR go hard. But we're gonna have to find some way to reach out to this brother, and if he continues to be unrepentant in his stance on this, then I think we do have to let him go. With that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Man Listen Show. You can find the show on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah. Holla.